Okay, welcome back to our Cabo Cribs podcast here in San Jose del Cabo at our main office here in our podcast room. Today I am with Barraco Law Firm. I'm with two of the owners, the founders of Barraco, Sebastian Barrera and Jesus Contreras. And we wanted to have a little interview with them today. As Cabo Cribs, we've used them to do our closings and for other legal services over the last couple of years, and we've found they're very efficient, very knowledgeable, and have to be definitely one of the best firms that I would recommend when it comes to closings on real estate transactions and tax savings. And I wanted to talk to these fine gentlemen about this today. And welcome, Jesus.
Thank you. Thank you very much first for that introduction. That really went close to my heart.
Absolutely.
And thank you for inviting us today.
We're happy to be here, Lee. Thank you very much.
Of course. Well, welcome. Well, guys, let's get started here. Let's talk about taxes. What are taxes? What are we paying?
Yes, that's a good subject and actually good question. And we have to start. It depends on how far we can go. No, let's say this: when you are born, ever since you are born, you are taxed government, depending if it's the government of Mexico or Canada. In your case, for example, most of the rules said that you have to give money to contribute for the public services, public needs. So apparently, and this is the thing that is happening right now, and it's very important that we have to understand, these taxes are everywhere, are for everything. So apparently, just contributing for the public services has become a burden for every single citizen. No, there's a lot of people that realizes this. For example, if you earn money, good to know, you earn money, you are charging taxes for. Then when you have money on your account, you are charged taxes for. You decide that you don't want to be charged taxes on your account and you decide that you want to buy a house, then you still will have to pay taxes for that, for buying the house, of course.
Right.
Then once you have your house, you'll have to pay taxes for owning a house. And when you want to sell it,
so it's taxes on taxes on taxes on taxes. So basically what you guys try to do is try to save through legal routes and legal avenues, tax strategies, to try to save your clients money on these taxes.
Yes, that's part of the things that we do. We are not the only ones on this fight. We have great warriors with us. Let's talk about Ricardo Salinas Pliego. This guy, he's the third richest man. He apparently is in a big fight against the government for more than 63,000 million pesos in tax debts. Of course, this is not grounded and it's not as chaotic as this sounds. He has legal grounds to defend his position, but the government of Mexico directly is pointing at him. So even though breaking every single law available, he's telling everyone what are the debts and how he's debting that, when shouldn't be public information, So he's fighting the war for us, but as him, there's a lot of people that is trying to combat these excessive taxing purposes that the government is dragging on us. And so far, I think the war, it's even, because if you apply the correct tax strategy, you will have some advantages that you can use on your favor, and everyone will be happy with that situation. No?
Well, I mean, we all know that taxes are necessary part of society, but Sebastian, you guys have created some amazing strategies to help your clients that are purchasing. I know you guys have your own strategies. The magician doesn't give away the tricks, but I'm sure the viewers would love to hear a little bit about that and why you guys are so successful in actually saving and creating these tax strategies that are legal in Mexico, the highest benefit to your client.
So what Jesus was telling us is very important. And pointing out that specific scenario makes us realize the tax situations that some very wealthy people, or we could say one of the wealthiest people in Mexico, is going through. And now we offer counsel in Baja California Sur to clients, foreigner and Mexicans. Both are involved in the taxes in real estate transactions. Both have to comply with the tax laws. That's a very important thing to consider. And most of all, we need to give them good counsel. First, that they understand what taxes they are paying, depending on which side they are on a real estate transaction, buyer or seller, because both have tax obligations. There's three taxes that we could appoint that are very important: property tax, acquisition tax, and capital gains tax.
Okay, so what exactly are the what is the percentage for all three of those taxes?
Yes, this is an easy answer. It will depend mostly on the state that we're talking about. For example, um, two of them are locally based. Those are depending on the state that you are in Mexico. Here in Mexico, for the acquisition tax, you will be paying 2%, and for the property tax is around 0.05% yearly.
Which is really low. I mean,
Is really low compared to many nations and to many states as well. So it's
See, compared to U.S. property tax in Mexico, it's way lower. The municipal authorities are the ones that calculate it depending on the cadastral base. So there's many factors that inflict on that part. Where is the land located or the property? How many developments are around of it? There's many things that are involved in that part,
now,
or that affect the property tax to be
so
paid.
it sounds like the annual property tax and the land acquisition taxes are the least of the taxes.
yes.
Let's talk about capital gain.
Capital gains, that's a federal tax, so many in most of the states of Mexican Republic, and yes, of course, that's the highest burden, mostly because right now real estate in Mexico blooming, very high. So the gains that the people is receiving, for the ones that use it investment, or even the ones that didn't plan to do it as an investment, they are receiving big gains. So the government wants a piece of that cake, and that's where we're facing the biggest burden. In Mexico, we to ease the proportions, let's say you will deduct from the selling price the cost of your home or your real estate, and the difference there, and under that difference, you will be paying 35%. So that's the general rule. We make a lot of things to do reductions on that percentage.
What you're saying is like that's the worst case scenario without any tax strategy. If somebody was just they didn't know or they tried to do it themselves, they would be paying 35% if they did.
Exactly, they will pay 35%, and if they have no advice at all, have even worse scenarios. Perhaps we shouldn't mention it here because we don't want to scare anyone.
No, we don't.
but if you don't receive any advice at all, and being a foreigner, for example, you can be facing 20% over the total of your transaction.
Right.
You don't have any advice at all. And in the rest of the regular scenarios, yes, we're talking about 35%.
Okay.
And close to that.
When you guys are doing your tax strategies, okay, so Mexico is 35%. That's the base rate. Like with some of your strategies, where can you see people getting their taxes, their capital gain taxes down to? Like 5%, 10%? What is more of a realistic percentage that you can get it down to with a good tax strategy?
Well, usually it depends. It's case by case.
Mm-hmm.
The taxes are calculated depending on the property, the price. You need to review many details from the property itself. You need to do first a due diligence. You can do a title search. You need to make sure what was the acquisition price. And when you know the acquisition price and the year, you make the calculations.
Right.
Usually the notary publics or law firms like us do the calculations, and the resulting amount is the one that you work with. So once you have the total capital gains, which is the 35%, then you can analyze the scenario and you can case by case make a more accurate statement or have a more accurate percentage of how much you could be or you would be able to save in capital gains tax.
Great.
Yeah, I think part of what Bastian is sharing with us is that we are a responsible law firm. Such we cannot foresee or without analyzing or assessing every single situation, take for granted that we're gonna do a great benefit. No, but we cannot say that upfront.
Well, and what I've experienced with you guys, and we've done closings with hundreds and probably thousands of different clients, and the nice thing about it is before going into a closing, you can have some sort of a good faith closing estimate, and with you guys, I've always found your estimates were a lot lower than anybody else's, and where I was finding those differences were the notary fees were much lower and the capital gains was a lot lower. I don't know how you guys do it, but Sebastian?
Yes, that's another very important part to consider. So closing costs. Usually in real estate business in Cabo, the ones that ask for closing costs all the time are the real estate agents that are showing properties around. So some closing costs have to be provided to give the buyer clients a better attention at the moment. Sometimes you have to take your time to calculate it, but closing cost is an essential part because it is the first. They are the first numbers that you show to the client, and the client realizes how much it's gonna cost. How much am I gonna pay for this property, including the costs? We have to pay notary fees. We have to pay the the acquisition tax. We have to pay inscription rights in the public registry. You have to take care of technical paperwork, certificate of no liens, appraisal, water certificate from OMSAPAS.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay for the certificate of the stating that there's no property tax left to pay.
Right.
Closing fees. All the expenses are in a statement that the buyer knows. He realizes what's the percentage. Now that's a very good question also. What's the percentage? It varies. It depends. Even in Mexico, every state has a different percentage because the costs and the taxes are different in every state. Let's say acquisition tax. Here in Baja California is 2%. It's calculated based on the highest price of the property calculated. Could be the purchase price, could be the collateral
Okay.
amount.
So even if you buy a home, or say you get a really good deal in a home worth $1 million. You buy it, you get it for 500,000. You still would have to pay based on the actual value that.
No, you would pay on the market value, the purchase price.
Okay.
It's a good question, because the thing is that we come back to the taxes. There's a lot of practices were used on the past, not anymore because it's not allowed anymore. The government has put some locks on, and people that have done those past think that they can manipulate the price of the property.
Right.
But in this moment of life, there are several organizations that are part of the government that take care of appraisals, for example, or the same public notaries. What they do they take care, and they are joint obligors on the payment of taxes. So right now, to avoid those taxes, easy variations on the price is not a good way to see. The best thing you can do is to use the legal grounds that what the law recognizes, and then from there on to make deductions over the.
I was just going to say that, like let's take Donald Trump, for example. Donald Trump doesn't pay any taxes, but he uses every legal avenue. So it's all legal. So he's using the law against the government. Awesome. Well, let's keep it at that. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming by this beautiful Friday afternoon. I hope you guys have some amazing plans this weekend. And thanks for coming in again. And again, guys, so if you guys are looking for a good law firm, somebody who's going to look after you, somebody who's going to communicate well and give you the real answers and not the hokey dokey answers, then Baracco is a top choice that I like to guys. But of course, it's up to you if you want to take the risk. So stay tuned for the next podcast. Have a great evening.